Hey Eric, so let me ask you a question. Have you ever done something that didn't quite go right, and then you ask yourself why?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I tend to be an analytical guy. And because of that, I like to ask questions to analyze the situations. And, one of those questions is oftentimes why.
Yeah, I got another question for you. And when we ask why, how well does that go for us?
That's a good question.
Yeah, so more on that in a moment. But first, hello, I'm Steve.
And I'm Eric. And together we are two dads with one mission.
Welcome to the 𝗙𝗃𝗲𝗃 podcast. This is the show for dads, all about fatherhood, faith, and freedom, one conversation at a time. And on this week's episode, we're going to dive into why questions are the answer, or said better, why the right questions are the answer.
Yeah, so let's explore this idea of questions. So I often say the quality of your questions dictates the quality of your life. So with that in mind, let's dig in. So how do the quality of your questions dictate the quality of your life?
Eric, before we move on to that, let's just circle back and rewind to the why. So look, here's the thing for me. Like if you do something, like the original question was, have you ever done something in your life and it didn't quite work out the way you want it, and then you ask yourself why? Well, here's the thing. So let's just say I do something, I didn't quite get the result I want, and I ask myself, well, why did I do that? Then normally what happens is that overcritical part of you will beat you up.
Yeah.
So, I'm trying to lose weight. Why am I not losing weight? And that part of you on the inside will say it's because you're a fatty, Steve. That's why. It's because you don't exercise enough. So when we ask why, which is the wrong question, we're often going to get the reasons why we're not getting the thing that we're going to do. And hey, we're not exactly our best supporting cheerleader, are we?
Right. Yeah, we're our own worst enemy most of the time. And it's not
so
so much that why is a wrong question, but it's not necessarily the right question to ask first.
Yes, exactly.
Maybe
why can come later for sure. So, what are some better ways and better questions to ask?
Yeah, so I think that a good place to start oftentimes is how or what. What happened? Or how did I find myself here?
Yeah. And in terms of the quality of I really love that. The quality of the questions, dictate the quality of life. And again, here's a great place to ask the reason why. So, why is that, Eric? Why are the quality of the questions, why are they in direct relationship to the quality of your life? In other words, the better questions you get at asking will determine, the better quality of your life.
Yeah. So here's a good analogy that I think almost anybody can relate to that's lived a few years. When you are, we're allied dads. So if you happen to be a single dad and you are in the dating scene and you are sitting down, maybe meeting somebody for the first time, and you don't ask them good questions, and then you continue meeting with them, and over time you don't ask them good questions, and then before you know it, you're in this long-term relationship and you're getting married, and then one day you wake up and you go, I don't even know who this person is. That's a quality of life issue, right?
Yeah.
You didn't take the time to understand how to ask good questions in a life-altering situation such as relationships, and that can, obviously that's going to impact the quality of your life. Waking up next to somebody and feeling like you don't even know who that person is.
Yeah,
that's a terrible thing. That's a nightmare, right?
Definitely. Eric, I love that analogy. And, a couple of things have come to mind. In fact, 4 things have just come to mind. And the first thing is, you have a better understanding of yourself and others and your situations when the quality of your questions, are on point. So it will give you a better understanding of yourself, others, and situations.
Well, and that's really where it starts, right? Asking yourself good questions will help you understand yourself better, so that when you are in that situation I described, you can you now have the internal ability to ask good questions because you understand yourself.
Yeah. And the second thing, which is a direct byproduct of asking good questions, the second thing is, I think people will have an understanding that, you know, you're present for them. You're really listening to them when you ask good questions. Yeah.
I often get told, or people remark, that's a good question. Well, it's not because I just was, you know, like born a naturally good question asker. I have been focused for years on this whole topic of questions. You know, I've been a Bible reader for years, and some of the most prominent people in the Bible were the best question askers that there ever was. You know, Jesus Christ being one of them, the Apostle Paul the other. These guys were brilliant at asking questions. And so that's absolutely influenced the way that I think and the way I approach life. Is I like to ask questions.
Yeah. You know, and the third thing as well is that other people will feel really heard. Like I say, they'll feel that you're present and really listening. So they'll feel heard when you ask questions about them as well.
Let's dig into that just for a minute. So this is super easy. You know, if you are listening to this and you kind of feel like, well, I don't really know how to ask questions, or, you know, there's two things I want to say to that. The easiest way to become better at asking questions is just get curious. Just adopt a curious mindset. And so that when somebody says something to you, don't just assume you know what they mean, or don't just immediately go, oh yeah, I had that experience too. Say something like, well, and what else? Or tell me more about that. Like, you don't even have to be brilliant. You don't have to like reframe their words into this, you know, you don't have to be a master tactician at asking questions. Just take what they said and go, tell me more about that. What else about that? What else happened? Wow, that's amazing. Tell me more. You know, it can be that simple, and people will absolutely feel heard by you. And that is a way that questions can improve the quality of your life.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
Not asking enough questions can lead to poor decision making.
Eric, that was what I was just going to come on to. The fourth point there is definitely, you know, the wrong type or not enough questions can lead to you not having the amount of information you need to be able to make a really informed and good decision. And that results in us making really poor decisions instead.
Yep. And this often leads people to feeling like they're a victim. And the reality is, it's their fault because they never even took the time to ask a question. Saw a post on Facebook this morning in a legal group, no less. Somebody asking, now they're asking questions. Hey, do I have legal recourse? Well, they bought a vehicle, never asked really any questions, test drove it for 2 minutes. So they obviously didn't ask themselves enough questions, you know, and so, but they paid for it. They don't have title in hand. They didn't ask any questions, right? And now the quality of their life is being dictated by their lack of asking questions. And in this particular person's case, they're playing the victim. You know, oh, woe with me. Well, look, questions will make you wise.
They will. So here's the thing: like, if you're
and ask some questions.
Yeah, if you're one of those folks that is consistently in the past, hopefully you're gonna gain some something really valuable and insight from this. Go research it some more and take some action. But look, if you're one of those folks that has consistently in the past made really poor decisions, and I'm sick of making all these bad decisions, everything I decide to do turns out wrong, then just ask better questions. Simple.
Yep.
That's the solution. Learn to ask better questions, and eventually you will start to make better decisions because you're going to gain so much more information that you'll be able to see clearly, rather than, you know, you can't see the wood for the trees. You'll be able to see more clearly and be able to make those more informed decisions because you now have asked the right types of questions.
Yep. Hey, so with that in mind, we have created a document that you can have, you know, anybody that wants it can have it. And it will teach you how to ask better questions. Not only will it teach you how to do that, but it'll give you specific kinds of questions to ask. And we've broken it down into just a multitude of categories, even some questions for your kids. You know, if you're a salesperson, things like that. So it's broken down, it's organized, and it can really help you just become better at asking questions, which will lead to a better life.
Yeah, and to give you a, you know, a little bit of an insight, there are literally hundreds of questions inside this document.
There's hundreds.
So my question to you is, why wouldn't you want access to that? So if you want that, how can people get hold of that document, Eric?
Yeah, so the easiest way is just reach out to us through our website at allieddads.com and let us know you want it, and we'll send it over to you. It's that simple.
Perfect.
All right, any parting thoughts on this episode, Steve?
Yeah, you know, something sprung to mind. So I here in the UK, I used to run an award-winning telecoms company. And we used to work in kind of telecoms, or I used to call it big boys Meccano. So I'm talking about, you know, all these steel structures and towers you'd see with all these pieces of large telecoms equipment on them. So I used to run a telecoms company, and as such, I'd find that the best source of good personnel for me would come from the armed services, so ex-forces people from our UK Army, or Royal Signals were always good, as the Royal Siggies, as we called them, you know, and Air Force, Army, Navy, etc. And I had one particular chap who joined the organization, and he told me this story, and I think it's perfect to just wrap up. He told me this story that as a young private, him and a few of his private squaddies were tasked with painting the parade square. It had these white lines around it, and there was some sort of an important visit the next day. I can't remember whether it was a member of the royal family or just someone high up in the services. There was an inspection, and everyone was going to be in the parade square. So the day before, they were repainting all these white lines to make them nice and crisp and pristine. And like young privates do, you know, they were goofing around a little, and one of them accidentally kicked the can of paint over. So this paint started to pour out. They picked the can up quickly, but there was this little patch of paint, and it's like, how are we going to get that paint up? We've got this inspection the next day. And what they did is, it's like, one of them had an idea, and what he did is he literally just painted the little spillage into a shape. I think it was just a little square or a diamond. He painted it into just a little shape where the spillage was, and kind of, you know, thought nothing of it. You know, was stationed all the way around the world in various other places, and about 20 years later, just happened to be on, you know, the same base where this incident happened 20 years later. And out of curiosity, so there you go, you just got to get curious, guys. Out of curiosity, went to the parade square, and guess what? In pristine, brilliant white, the shape was still there 20 years later.
Love it.
Because nobody asked the right question. And for 20 years, young privates had been basically tasked with painting the white lines on the square. And each and every year for 20 years, they painted the same shape over and over again. It was half an inch thick of paint where they'd repainted this shape.
Nobody ever stopped to ask why.
Exactly.
Or what, or how, or anything. Yeah, I love that story. And it's, you know, you see things like that in life over and over again. People just doing stuff without asking. And it, you know, sometimes you can get away with it. Sometimes it leads to issues in your life.
Absolutely. It's like, you know, often organizations do the same thing over and over again, and it's maddening. And you know, there's a better way of doing things. It's kind of, well, and you think to yourself, well, why do we do it this way? And it's because that's the way that it's always been done around there. The parade square always got painted that way for 2 decades.
The enemy of the status quo.
Nobody seems to want to disrupt the status quo. So if you want to disrupt that status quo, ask better questions. You ask better questions, ultimately it will enhance the quality of your life. Absolutely. That much we guarantee.
Awesome. All right. I love it. I love questions. And again, if you want that document, if you want to learn how to ask better questions, let us know. We'll send that over to you. Steve, what are we talking about next?
I'm just going to say, Eric, I've got a great question, which was going to be, hey, what's the next topic? But you beat me to it. So the next topic is the social equation.
Social equation. Well, I kind of want to ask what that's about, but we're going to leave that as a cliffhanger. That's a question
for another time, Eric, for sure.
All right. Go check us out on allieddads.com. And What do people need to do, Steve?
Yeah, well, if you want to reach out to us, it's allieddads.com. I would, we would really appreciate having some of our listener generated topics and ideas for us to kind of break down and dive into. So please do, reach out to us if you've got a burning topic, maybe a pain point in your own life that you would like, us to maybe talk about some solutions, some resources in and around, just hit us up, send us a message. We'd love to include that on a future episode. And in the meantime, go and find us and subscribe and like and hit those subscribe and bell buttons on your favorite streaming channels.
Absolutely. We appreciate the support. Thanks for being here. And we'll look forward to seeing you next time.
Yeah, see you next time.